Baker Mayfield stood back there in his igloo and continued to throw duck after duck that was swatted down by almost every player on the Browns defensive lineman. And then when he got the ball over the defensive line, it was a horrid pass. I mean, 700-mile-an-hour fastballs flying over the receivers. It was awful. It was an atrocious performance and a QB-friendly offense. Like, every throw was quick. It was just way right.
Welcome to episode 53 of the Frenemies podcast. NFL recap today. Great weekend of football. I mean, I thought it was phenomenal. Great endings. Kickers sucked except for Cade York. Questionable coaching decision, especially by the Broncos coach Hackett. I have no idea what he was doing. And I'm pretty sure all of our picks did not do well. Because there's a lot of games that did not go a lot of people's way. Make sure you get your picks ready. Just so we know. Because we're going in the same order we did last time.
Okay.
All right. So I'll start us off. Bills, Rams. I picked the Bills. Sorry, I picked the Rams. I was very wrong. The Rams just didn't look ready to play. Stafford did not look good. Allen looked phenomenal. Even with the turnovers, even with the Bills turning the ball over, they still never punted. They still dominated. The Bills were by far the better team. And Von Miller was phenomenal.
Jackson.
Yeah, I had the Bills here. This was the game I was most accurate on. I had the Bills blowing out the Rams. And I don't think it's a surprise. The Bills just became the first team in the history of the NFL to go 3 out of 4 games without a punt. And that they're lucky for them. They just cut their punter, so they got to continue that. The Bills are a phenomenal team. I think right now after that performance, it's them or the Chargers in the AFC or the Chiefs. Just an exceptional performance by the Bills, and I think the Rams are in a little bit of trouble. Week 1 is the biggest overreaction week in the NFL, though. But God, did Matt Stafford look awful, and they couldn't run the ball to save their lives. Everything about the Rams looked bad.
Yeah. Stafford. He looked really, really bad. Clearly, the elbow's still bothering him. And the Bills. The thing about the Bills is I think I picked the Bills too. Yeah, I picked the Bills as well. But anyway, the Bills played they played far from perfect, and they still dominated. Like, they had 3 first-half turnovers, and they somehow completed 90% of their third downs, which is just unbelievable to me. Like, that doesn't even seem real. But the Bills look really good. Like, they looked like the clear Super Bowl favorites, I think, after week 1.
I would say the only point I would change is I would say the Rams' offensive struggles was way more on their offensive line than any other player. Their offensive line was
Akers?
That's fair.
That's a great question, but their offensive line was horrendous. They're definitely missing Whitworth at their left tackle. They got to figure that out. 7 sacks. I mean, it's just unacceptable. That's horrible.
Why the hell is Cam Akers not playing football?
I don't know.
I know Sean McVay might know more football than I do, but why is Cam Akers not playing?
Because he's in the Miles Sanders poo-poo house right now.
It doesn't do his job, and he doesn't block. Did you draft Cam Akers?
No, I didn't draft him in any leagues, but I feel bad for people that did. I mean, that was pathetic. I don't know. I feel like he should be on the field.
I saw clips where he legit was the most lazy player I've seen in my life.
Yeah, Cam Akers looked horrible.
He just doesn't look motivated.
I feel like, I guess in the doghouse. I don't know. But it was just weird. It was weird to me to see him not play at all. Like, I did not expect that.
So, Carter, you went Bills too, right?
I did. I agreed basically with everything Jackson said.
Okay. Yeah. Next game, Saints-Falcons. Carter, your Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. The Saints barely beat the Falcons. You can start us off.
It was not pretty. I said it wasn't going to be pretty for a while, though, with Winston coming back and the new weapons. It's going to take some time for sure. Michael Thomas looked good. I'm glad to see him healthy, just on a personal note, because I'm a very huge Michael Thomas fan, obviously, since he went to Ohio State. But I think they'll figure it out. I think the Falcons look better than I thought they were going to in my eyes. Now, they're still not going to win a lot of football games, but they actually surprised me a little bit. There was a lot of teams that surprised me this week. I'm not going to lie. But I think the Saints will be fine. It's week 1. I'm not really overreacting or underreacting to anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Michael Thomas is definitely back. He looked really, really good. The Saints were down, was it like 14 or 16 going to the fourth quarter or something like that? And they had obviously Falcons, typical Falcons, completely blew the lead. But the issue with the Saints, I felt like, was they got dominated in the trenches as well. Jameis Winston was sacked. What was it? I don't know, a shit ton of times. Jameis Winston was on his ass a lot of times. And the fact the Falcons are beating you on the offensive and defensive line is really bad. Because there are offensive and defensive lines that are much better than the Atlanta Falcons. So that is the only issue for the Saints, I think, down the road, I thought.
O'Neal?
Yeah, I think again, I don't like to overreact or underreact to week 1 games because you still have a lot of time to figure things out throughout the NFL. But if I'm the Saints, I'm worried. You barely got Alvin Kamara. You got him barely any touches. He looked like a non-factor.
He's injured now.
Is he out or questionable?
Something with bruised rib. They just picked Latavius Murray off waivers.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't think it's anything significant though. Like bruised ribs, players play through that every week in the NFL. But the Saints looked horrible. They did not look like a good football team. And Jameis Winston, everyone's saying he's got 3 great receivers now: Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, which he does. He should look a lot better than how he looked. He struggled to move the football. Now, granted, he got it done when he needed to, but he got it done against a bad defense. And the NFC South is a good division, and the NFC is a great conference. So Winston's really got to figure this out a lot quicker because he had last year to learn. He learned under Drew Brees. The process and the repetition should be there now, and it doesn't look like it is. I don't think it's panic time yet for the Saints, but there's some cause for concern because Jameis Winston couldn't move the ball in the first 3 quarters. So it's got to change. It's got to change quickly.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, and we all picked the Saints, right?
Yeah. I would say the Saints do get a pass because they do get to face the Falcons and Panthers twice, 4 times in total. So at least they get some easy opponents to try to get their offense and defense.
But how they looked right here, I don't think that's a guaranteed 4-0. That right now looks like a 2.
Oh, I don't think it is either. But I think if you're gonna they still won the game, so at least they still are 1-0. At least they still learned. So
that's true.
They're learning through winning instead of learning through losing. 49ers Bears. We all got an L on this one, I'm pretty sure, unless someone picked the Bears. No. I think if the field was not a monsoon, I think the 49ers win. I think it was perfect scenario for the Bears. And the 49ers are just sloppy, but I wouldn't take too much away from it, but
I think you're right. I think a big part of the 49ers issue was Trey Lance. For his first career start, I don't know if it was his first career start, but for the first time, it's really his team. He looked horrible. Now, granted, you cannot overreact to it because the conditions were some of the worst in the NFL. I think the Niners will be fine. I think Trey Lance will be fine. It was a perfect game for the Bears. You got one of your best teams out of your way early, and you played them in horrible conditions, and you beat them. So I think it was a statement win for the Bears because, even still, good opponent. You got to go out. You got to battle the Niners. Great D-line, great secondary, great linebacking core. And defensively, you held with them. I think it was a better win for the Bears than it was a bad loss for the Niners.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that, Jack. I think the Bears honestly surprised me. I thought no way in hell they were winning that game. In the first half, Justin Fields 2 for 9 for 19 yards. In the second half, he finished, 5 for 8, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the second half alone, and they scored 3. They scored back-to-back touchdowns. I legit didn't think the Bears were capable of doing that. No matter the weather, that's still pretty impressive.
yeah.
Their line looked like shit, but the fact that they won that game, that was very impressive to me.
No, you're right. And I think another big issue too, or at least something to tackle, is how good Justin Fields looked in his second season in the NFL. Granted, the conditions were horrible. He did not look good in the first half, couldn't move the football. But he made some of those eyebrow-raising plays that Mac Jones will never make, that Trevor Lawrence will never make. You're like, all right, this kid might be something special. That one rollout where he avoided 2 sacks in the backfield, cut it left, and then throws it. That's something you see in Madden. And that was beautiful. If Fields has that in him, he could be a great quarterback.
Carter.
Jacob, you look like you look like you want to say something.
Huh?
You look like you wanted to say something about one of the names that was mentioned by Mr. O'Neill.
His constant negativity towards Trevor Lawrence is just pathetic. Just because he's an Ohio State fan and he hates Trevor Lawrence. But whenever he gets the chance,
no, hold on. I
Whenever
thought
you get the
that
chance-
Trevor Lawrence wasn't going to be a great quarterback,
Trevor-
and so far I look fantastic on that.
I don't think he looked fantastic.
What has Trevor
Y'all
Lawrence
expect-
done?
We've all expected struggles from his first year with that team that he had. And he made good throws last week.
He did not look significantly good last week. He looked like an average NFL quarterback.
I said he made good throws.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be this like top tier QB1, and he looked
If
average.
the team had to choose between Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence,
They
would
choose Justin Fields.
They would take Trevor Lawrence 32 out of 32 teams.
I don't think you're right.
Not if
I
Jack
think
was GMing. Not if Jack was GMing.
No,
I think it's very close to 50-50.
I don't want to see a Justin Fields team.
I would take Justin Fields too, but that doesn't mean that Trevor Lawrence is a terrible quarterback or should be given up on.
I'm trying to save GMs the hassle. I say give up on Trevor Lawrence now. He's a career backup.
I would say with the Bears, though, I think if that defense with Eberflus, if he has those boys running around, I think they could be a pesky team. Not a good team, not even like a 7-8 win team. I think they
Like
could be
the Lions last year.
Be a pesky team, yes. But I think that's a better version of the Lions. I think their defense is better than the Lions was last year.
Completely agree with that.
Next game was probably the best game on the slate, or at least most crazy. Steelers-Bengals. Evan McPherson is human. He can miss. I think the biggest thing is that TJ Watt, he's out for 6 weeks. I think that probably knocks. It's Pittsburgh, so they'll probably find a way, but that's a huge loss. And great for the Browns because we play in week 3 without TJ Watt. Yes, O'Neill.
Yeah, I don't think any of that game should be pinned on Evan McPherson. I think that entire game, regardless of Joe Burrow's 4 interceptions, number 84, the backup long snapper, I think he should be cut. He should not only be cut, he should be made fun of, run amok. I think public humiliation is very fair to what he did to the Bengals. The Steelers-Bengals, one of the bigger rivalries in the AFC. You cannot lose a game like that where your long snapper cost you the game twice. I mean, Burrow threw 4 picks and had to fight all the way back, get his team down into scoring position, and then throws a touchdown to Jamar Chase as time expires, only for the best kicker in the NFL not even have a chance because a long snapper blows the snap. And then same thing in overtime. Evan McPherson, a shot, he's got to play a kick well within his range. High snap by the long snapper. McPherson pulls it left. That game's completely on the long snapper of the Cincinnati Bengals and should be cut immediately.
Carter, you seem like you have a thought that you'd like to get out for
Best kicker in the NFL? Justin Tucker? Hello?
I didn't say he was the best. I said he was one of the best.
I don't know. If McPherson still has to make those kicks, Jackson.
No, that's where I disagreed. Those snaps were so bad it threw everything.
I don't remember the one being. I remember the one was high.
The other one was bad. No,
the one was not that bad, Jackson.
The other one was high and late. It was high and late, and it gave the Steelers a chance to get around the edge and block it.
How could it be late when he snapped?
Because it was a slow snap. Because I watched that game live. It was a slow snap. It got there slow. That game is entirely on the long snapper. It was 2 bad snaps that cost the Bengals a win.
I don't know. I mean, okay, personally.
Yard field goal. Sir, how you go?
I mean, you're both right in some sense, I think, but Joe Burrow played like absolute shit. Like, that was Joe Burrow's worst game of his career by far.
No, I definitely think it was a big collective reason. I was just pointing out that McPherson,
that's why that game is more to me a sign of what's to come for the Steelers and not what's to come for the Bengals. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, Joe Burrow will not play that bad again this season.
I agree.
The Steelers were handed that game on a silver platter, and they couldn't get it done. No. You get 4 interceptions from a top 10 quarterback.
They did win.
Hold on.
But no, it should have been a blowout. It should have been a blowout.
Maybe
Four,
it's because it's
four
Trubisky
turnovers.
is like Baker Mayfield last year. It's very similar to watching
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's
who
what, that's
tried
exactly
to say that? Jackson, you tried to say that Mr. Trubisky was a good quarterback. You and
Mr.
when
Trubisky
Nolan came on this
sucked
podcast.
ass.
Yeah,
But
no.
no. Steelers
He's a
defense is
quarterback.
better than advertised, though. I do think that the Steelers defense is
That's
very,
fine.
very
But that's what I'm saying. The
TJ is gonna be horrible.
the
for them.
Steelers should have won. The Steelers should have won. They should have won by a lot more than they did. And that's going to be a problem for them. And going down the stretch, if you get 4 turnovers from Joe Burrow, who's a top 10 quarterback, and you can't get the job done. I received excellent news today that I will get a live look in 2 weeks. I'm going to the Thursday night game. My father got tickets. So I will get a live look at how the Steelers will be performing live. But in my opinion, they're in trouble. They're in a lot of trouble.
Well, I don't know. I don't think the Steelers really had a lot of expectation on them to begin with. I was surprised that they somehow won that football game, and I legit think they could start 2-0. And honestly, the Browns are a very beatable team as well. So there's a chance they go 3-1, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. Like the Steelers are always there, and they're always good. It makes no sense, but Trubisky's going to somehow find a way to pick it up just because he's a Steeler. Yeah, I think.
The TJ thing though is just so big for me because he does so much. He gets so much pressure up the line. Because now Highsmith he's not gonna be able to just go with basically a free rush because TJ's getting doubled. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how the AFC North works out. But I think the Bengals are gonna bounce back. For when we get to our picks episode, I will be hammering the Bengals because they will bounce back and win. Eagles Lions. I think we all picked the Bengals there too. By the way.
Yeah, we did.
Eagles Lions. I think we were split on this. I went Eagles. Someone else went the Eagles with me. I think Carter did. I think the Eagles were the biggest winner of the weekend. Not because they beat the Detroit by 3, but because their biggest competitor in the division, the Dallas Cowboys, lost the quarterback for 6 weeks. So I think that division is now wide open for the Eagles to take. But Colin Cowherd is something that I actually agreed with. One of the few things he says that I agree with. The Eagles running game and the way they just stick to it. They had 240 yards on the ground, I think, between the running backs and Hurts. They do something great. They do it always. They do it well. I think the Eagles are a team to beat in the NFC.
Yeah, well, and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown together looked absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that too. Forgot about that. They look beautiful, that duo. Jackson, your Lions lost. Thoughts?
Yeah, I am disappointed that the Lions lost. I'll say this though. I want to give a lot of credit to Jalen Hurts. I've been very skeptical on Jalen Hurts in the past. He looked phenomenal to start the year. The A.J. Brown trade looks like a massive win. Devontae Smith showed shades of Jalen Reagor yesterday. I think he had 1 catch.
No, he had 0. He had 0.
0? Yeah, Devontae Smith was blanketed. I will say this about the Lions. My big thing was with the Lions. I thought their defense was going to be a big reason they stayed in games this year. And I thought the offense was going to, that was going to be the big issue with Jared Goff still at quarterback. That offense put up 35, and DeAndre Swift looks like a top 5 running back after Sunday's performance. If your offense is looking like that under Dan Campbell, I think you're going to be all right. I think the defense, they're going to turn around. Aiden Hutchinson just played his first NFL game. Okuda just came back from his first game of injury in over a year. I think the Lions I still think they have a lot of potential this year. The offense looked that good. They still get to add Jameson Williams when he gets back. And I think the defense can only get better from week 1. The Lions, I still think, are a legit team this year to win 6, 7, 8 games.
I do worry that they did the same exact thing last year. They put up a shit ton of points, and then obviously they never rebounded. I'm not saying it'll happen again, but I think week 1 is just so weird with how games are played and how many points are scored.
No, I agree with that, but I think, too, something different than last year. It was last year's usually the Lions had these big leads, and then teams would find miraculous ways to come back and get in those games to win. This year was different. This year, the Lions, they should have had no chance. They were down by like 3 scores in the fourth quarter, and they came back and cut it to 3. I think it's a good sign for the Lions. Again, it's only game 1. I think they'll be okay.
Carter, anything about this game?
I got nothing that hasn't already been said.
All right. Next game, Patriots Dolphins. I had horrible picks weeks, but this was my most proudest moment because I nailed this game to a T. Dolphins win. Patriots looked awful. That's really it about this game. The Patriots didn't look good.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill played really well.
They never look good in Miami, though. Like, I think both these teams will be fine going over. You were right. I picked the Pats anyway, but they never look good in Miami, especially early when it's hot.
My God, Tua. Who has a worse arm, Tua or Brissett?
Well, Brissett, but Tua, like, he did make some good throws. The one where he missed Tyreek Hill about 20 yards short when he was wide open, not great.
Tua's he's going to be the death of that team. Because they're very talented.
Because he did play a relatively good game.
If that's Tua's good game, they are not going to be a good football team this year. Tua's arm is actually pathetic. Jackson, I think I would rather have you in backyard football trying to throw. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, he had no velocity on his passes, too. It was so, like, wimpy. Like, Tyreek Hill is going to get so frustrated. And Jalen Waddle, too.
Jalen Waddle, he does have the best celebration in the NFL right now. Every time when he does the Waddle dance after his touchdown, that's so sick.
Yeah. All
right. Next game, we're not going to talk about it. Ravens-Jets. Lamar looked good throwing the ball, and the Jets looked horrible. Next game, Jaguars-Commanders. This was basically just a toss-up. I went Jaguars. I think someone else I think me and Jack went Jaguars. And the other two.
Yeah, I went Jaguars. Once again, Trevor Lawrence continues to just sell me. What great quarterbacks do is when they have leads in the fourth quarter, what do? They close. What Trevor Lawrence do? He folded. Really bad look for Trevor Lawrence. He should be ashamed of himself. The Jaguars are in trouble. Doug Peterson's not a legit head coach because he doesn't have a legit quarterback. No, Jags in trouble. That's a bad team top to bottom, starting at the quarterback position. That team will be in trouble for 4 more years. I will say good for the Redskins, good for Ron Rivera. It's cool seeing him start 4-0. What?
Redo it.
What?
Redo it. The Washington what?
Commanders. I'm sorry. The Washington Force a habit.
I thought he was talking about Ron Rivera because Jake had a whole spiel about how Ron is terrible last year too.
Yeah.
Well, I felt bad for Ron, but he's not. I feel like he's just not a good coach.
It was good to see Ron Rivera go 1-0. Rivera's a good dude. Sorry. They will always be the Redskins. Sorry, people are soft. No, I'll continue calling them the Redskins. That's pathetic. No, I'll call them the Commanders.
All right,
Commanders
done.
actually sound
You're
cool
done.
name. No, hold on. You're done.
No, you lost your ability to
I will say
game.
no. Let me say that. Let me say this. No, hold on. No.
You're done.
This is the most Hunter segment I've ever heard from you.
Carter, you will go. 2-minute timeout.
What is there really to say? The only reason I had any care of this game is because Terry McLaurin was in it, and he played well. But like, it's just those two teams. Yeah.
Hold on. Carson Wentz looked good.
Oh my God! What did I say in the last episode? He looks good some weeks, and he looks terrible other weeks. It's going to be like this all season.
He did not look that bad. And Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin might be some of the 2 best options that he's had in a long time. So I honestly think that Wentz could be a competent quarterback this year.
Don't forget about Jahan Dodson too. Jahan Dodson had a great debut on Sunday.
Yeah, and Dodson, I forgot about him.
That's right. Carson Wentz did he had a 46 QBR though. Trevor Lawrence had a 48. So I don't know if that's
he looked better than what the stats said.
So you're saying Trevor Lawrence is a taller Carson Wentz?
No, I was just trying to like.
But that's how he played.
Looked good. His good was a 46 QBR. When you said Trevor Lawrence played awful, he had a better QPR than who Hunter said played good.
One quarterback won, the other lost.
Oh, you're done. Oh, talking about quarterbacks winning and losing. Browns, Panthers. I think we'll just go right to Carter. I think we all have our thoughts on this game, but I think Carter wants to go first.
No. We all have a group chat. And a certain member likes to live text the entire game that we are all watching for some reason. So I muted that group chat and decided to provide my thoughts after the game, which I saved for this moment. Baker Mayfield was so lucky that Delpit turned into Andrew Sandejo because he would have had less than 150 yards of passing if it wasn't for him. Besides 2 bombs, a long seam route and a long post from Robbie Anderson that accumulated over 125 yards of passing, Baker Mayfield would have passed for 150. Pretty close to it.
Real quickly, there's no shot that the Robbie Anderson pass and the Tommy Tremble reception went for 125 yards combined.
Robbie Anderson's was 75 yards, and I'm
So
pretty
you're
sure.
telling me Tommy Tremble's was 50 plus?
No,
Was
Ian
that,
Thomas.
was
Ian
that 50
Thomas.
yards?
Ian Thomas was 50.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was wrong. Yeah, I didn't see that game.
Baker Mayfield stood back there in his igloo and continued to throw duck after duck that was swatted down by almost every player on the Browns defensive lineman. And then when he got the ball over the defensive line, it was a horrid pass. I mean, 700-mile-an-hour fastballs flying over the receivers. It was awful. It was an atrocious performance and a QB-friendly offense. Like every throw was quick. It was just way right, way left. And now, before Jackson goes, let me guess. Maybe DJ Moore ran the wrong routes. Maybe Robbie Anderson did a little snake route and just happened to be wide open and Baker made a marvelous play. I don't know. But all I know is the quarterback that trotted out there, I would take Jacoby Brissett's game 10 out of 10 times.
See,
Hold on, Jack.
good.
Before you go, I do just want to reconfirm Carter's stat. If you take away those 2 throws, he threw for 110 yards.
I would
So
like to
isn't-
say,
isn't-
What are we even
hey,
talking
hold on.
about?
let me go
If
first. Let me go
Phipps and
first. Let me
Butts,
go
real
first.
quick, I will. If Phipps and Butts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
I will say this. I will say this about the game. In the first half, I did begin to feel bad. That's how pathetic the performance was. Now,
was
listen.
bad.
Yeah, no. Now, the second half, I will commend Baker for sticking to the course. And yes, those throws were wide, naked, open. I'm aware of that. But the scramble he had, he showed heart like he always does. He's always shown heart. He's always shown passion. That's what I did love about Baker Mayfield. And I do commend him for sticking to the course and leading that team to a comeback. Is what he did. Yes, the throws were wide open, and yes, the Browns turned into like Helen Keller. I'm aware of that. But he did make that a game, I thought.
Which is fine, and I understand that it's a great point. But the problem is he decided to come out in the presser beforehand and say, and I quote, "I'm going to fuck them up." And he
Never
indeed
said that. Never said that. Never said that. You know he didn't say that.
Okay, hold on. So you can debate if he said that or if he said that or if he didn't say that. Jackson, he made T-shirts. Now that's where he draws attention to himself constantly, Jackson. And that's the issues I will always have with Baker.
And you know what happened?
No, stop.
And you know what happened?
Jackson, he was
Miles Garrett went.
with those T-shirts being made, like when he lost, he get made fun of to get more fuel to the Browns' defense.
All right. Can I get my 2-minute say on this game?
He can't get out of his own way. Okay, guys. Actually, not yet. You go.
All right. I'm not going to say anything too rants here. Like I've said all episode long, week 1, I don't think you can make huge overreactions or underreactions in week 1. I'll say this. Hunter and Jake, I am starting to respect your opinions on Baker and the state of his performance a lot more as time goes on. Every time I look at Carter, I just see someone who's deranged and has no idea what NFL football is. Carter's gotten to the point where Baker is so psychotically drilled in his head that he has to overreact to every little thing he does. Let me take you through my weekend. I went down to Cincinnati, visited some great friends. Quick shout out, I told them to give him one: Kyler, Kayla, Shannon, Elliot, Trevor, and Kaylee. Great seeing you guys. And Sam. So I didn't get to see hardly any of the Browns games because I was on a bus from Cincinnati to Athens where the Browns game was blacked out. So I was just watching Red Zone. So I got very few clips. What I did see live was Cade York drill a field goal that would have been good for 70 yards to win the game, and I was going nuts. That was so sweet.
He's a massive set of goals.
No, that was insane. That was one of the best kicks I've ever seen in my life. And I don't mean for that to be an overreaction, but that's a rookie day one kicker who made a 60-yard field goal down 1 to win the game. utterly insane. Phenomenal job by Cade York. I'll say this about Baker. I still love Baker. I have the utmost respect for Baker Mayfield and what he did for my franchise. Looking back on the highlights, first half, he looked putrid. He looked really bad. I'll fully admit to that. Again, it was his first game in a brand new Matt Rule system. I thought DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, I thought they were fine. I thought they played a good game. I thought McCaffrey looked good. O-line, iffy, but Baker looked really bad in the first half. Second half, I thought Baker did a good job. He made the throws when he needed to make them. Granted, they were wide open, but he made them, and that's what good quarterbacks do. And then Baker's big drawback last year was when you had to drive to win it, you couldn't get it. This year he got it, and this is where I do feel bad for Baker when he finally gets that game-winning drive. Granted, the Browns defense helped him out a little bit. He then gets screwed by a rookie kicker drilling one of the best kicks I've ever seen. So I'm not going to overreact or underreact to Baker. Bad first half, decent second half is what I'll give him. Jake, real quick, what I want to point out to you, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I'm not a huge fan of what Baker does off the field, like the T-shirts and the comments and stuff. I think that I'm going to F them up comment. I think that was blown out of proportion by a really bad reporter, in my opinion. I think that's on the reporter, and that's something I don't like about Baker. I think Baker gets a lot of bad media attention, and I think a lot of it's on the fault of the media because Baker's a fiery guy. The T-shirts I don't love. Not that Baker made them. He said in an interview that was his team. Now, it still has Baker's name on it. That's responsibility of him. You can shut that down. The only comment you made that I don't like is you said you don't like your quarterback drawing unnecessary attention to him. And the current Cleveland Browns quarterback is Deshaun Watson, who has drawn more attention than I think any quarterback in recent years. And I don't mean that in like a negative. I don't think that play makes any sense. With that said, Baker's got to work on the off the field stuff a little bit. He's got to quiet down a little bit. But I think he'll be okay. I don't know what I said that's going to draw Carter crazy. One quarterback had 26 sexual assault allegations, and the other one made T-shirts.
Well, Jackson, my main point I was trying to say is that Baker just can't get out of his own way when he's doing like these different things. Like he wonders why the media does this to him, and then he proceeds to do this type of shit. Like Jackson, Baker was, for the first time in his career, every single person on planet Earth, with the exception of a small little town named Cleveland, was rooting for him. And that he still found a way to turn people off with these T-shirts. Like, it's incredible, Jackson, how he can do that to himself.
No, Jake, I completely agree with that. That's a bad look for Baker. I don't think it's a great point to say you don't like your quarterback drawing unnecessary attention to him when, the Browns starting quarterback can't stay out of court.
Well, and he did do that when he was not our quarterback. So since he's
fair,
been
but
here,
he still is the Browns quarterback.
Because their quarterback should be a leader and should not be doing he did that stuff in Houston. But anyway, I think we've talked about enough about Carolina. I do want to touch on the Browns. I don't think we really talked about them much. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, still the best running duo in the league. They look phenomenal. O-line looked good. Defense, with the exception of those two plays, looked pretty dominant. The Panthers went nowhere with excepting those two things. And the big question of Jacoby Brissett. He didn't look great. He missed a good amount of throws. There's film now coming out where he missed Nick Chubb for wide open touchdown in the backfield. There's a couple of things that he just didn't do. But when we needed him to get us in field goal position to win a game, he did that. So if Jacoby can just, at this rate, we don't, like last year, we were looking at Baker to see, could it be our franchise quarterback? We know Jacoby's not going to be the franchise quarterback, so I honestly don't care how he plays as long as we win. So if the Browns can be like around 500 when Deshaun comes back, I think they give them a real shot at making the playoffs, which I think means the next 3 games all have to be wins. Because after that, we are probably going to lose the next 5 to 6 games.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, let me throw one more quick thing out here. It's not about Baker or the Panthers. It does have something to do with this game, though. You were just talking about the Brissett missing Nick Chubb wide open, and that reminded me of what I saw on Twitter. I want the Browns to cut Jedrick Wills. And he's a decent left tackle, but there are 3 sports figures two sports figures I just really hate no matter what they do. I'll always hate them. Andrew Sendejo, Jedrick Wills. And Laurie Markkinen. No matter what they do, for whatever reason, I will always hate them. And Jedrick Wills looked piss poor on Sunday. couldn't finish a block to save his life, couldn't make a block downfield to save his life. When Jack Conklin is back, I want Wills on the bench, and I want James Hudson to take over. Because Hudson at least plays with Hudson plays at least with some effort. With Bill Callahan, I think will be okay. Jedrick Wills looked absolutely pathetic as a left tackle, and I was getting pissed off just watching the film. He looks lost out there, and every time he gets beat, what does he do? He just stands and looks at his quarterback with his hands in his pocket. He's a piss-poor left tackle, and I get sick and tired of seeing it on Sundays.
Jackson, I agree with every single thing you said. Legit every single thing.
He does have a motor issue, but I still think he's a solid left tackle. But I would say James Hudson looked phenomenal. I thought Hudson looked great.
He did look good. He did look good. No, I don't get how you're a 6'4", 320-pound man, and when someone beats you, you legit sit there and bitch and moan. He literally looked pouty. How do you look pouty as a starting offensive lineman? That's what pissed me off. I was like, he legit looks like he doesn't want to be there, and that's what made me mad.
He looks entitled. Like, he almost looks entitled.
Those Bama fuckers.
All right, we gotta move on to the next game. Spent a little too much time on that game. Colts Texans. I called the Texans with the upset win, and goddamn it, they deserved it, and they should have won. I'm pissed about that game.
Are we just saying this is a tie, or are we saying this is a loss? Are we excluding it from?
So I'm
saying it's a tie. No. Last year we kept ties. This is a tie because you have you can predict a tie if you want to predict a tie.
So technically,
I still think I should have won that game.
That technically means I'm still undefeated in Chipotle Game of the Weeks. Thank you. Anyway, continue.
Michael Pittman looked like a wide receiver 1, and Davis Mills looked solid. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah,
I think they'll look better, but Texans at home, week 1. It's weird. A lot of players don't play in the preseason anymore, so I think they'll get their feet under themselves. But
yeah, no, the entire AFC South is a joke. Like all 4 of those teams are not good football teams. I think the Colts, they haven't won an opener in 9 years, and I actually thought they were trying to lose. Like, it was honestly pathetic watching Rodrigo Blankenship and the entire Colts trying to win a football game because they couldn't do it. Blankenship got cut 2 days later, which he should have, because he can hit a field goal inside 40 yards. Anything past that, he's legit not even close. And the Colts offense, Matt Ryan looked, I guess, kind of like Matt Ryan, kind of how I thought he would look. But Jonathan Taylor looked good. Their defense looked very mediocre. They were a boring football team. The Colts are just a boring football team.
I guess we'll move on, right? Unless someone else has a thought. Yeah, we're good. Giants, Titans. Titans were winning this for the majority of the game. The Giants had heart, came all the way back in the second half. The Giants team last year would have folded, put their legs up, and just let it all in. But they actually showed fight. They win the game. Love Dable. Dable actually, his reaction after the game was just so wholesome. Carter, what's going on there, buddy? I'll continue. Yeah, no. The Giants look good. I always liked Brian Dable. I just didn't think the roster was good enough. But Saquon looked great. In that 2-point conversion, it looked like it was going to just get stopped because it was not open, and yet he broke dude's ankles. Good win for the Giants.
I'm so happy I drafted Saquon in 4 of my 6 fantasy leagues because, my God, did he look good. My God. All right, that's all.
He's probably going to get injured.
He always looks good, and then he gets injured. You're fine. That's not what
not last year. He didn't look like this at all last year. No, this is a different Saquon that we got last year. What were you laughing at, by the way? No, hold on, time out. No, he wasn't. Why did you fall off the screen laughing? I was so confused by that.
Jake goes to the Giants team last year would have laid down, put their legs in the air.
Jake made a sexual comment that we don't condone.
Yeah, Carter can't handle those.
All right, next game.
Packers, Vikings. The Vikings look pretty good. Jay Jettas, he was on pace to break a record after the first half. Aaron Rodgers and his receivers, it's gonna make a soap opera this entire season. he obviously does not trust any of them. After Watson dropped that very first pass for a touchdown, he did not get a target till the fourth quarter. So, like, obviously he has issues. This Packers team may fall apart, even though they're talented. I don't think they will, but it'll be interesting how this plays out. And the Vikings, I think, are legit. But we're not going to overreact, but the Vikings looked very good.
And they had a legit defense, too, I think, this year. Like, the Vikings defense
Oh,
played
they look
really
good.
well. Like, yeah, no, they did look really good.
Carter?
This was the closest game. I called it to a T. I said Vikings would win by a couple scores. I said it would take Aaron Rodgers a couple weeks to get used to the new offense, especially with life without Devontae Adams. I think they'll both be fine, but I think the Vikings are legit this year.
O'Neal, nothing?
No, I think Kevin O'Connell had the best debut of the NFL head coach this year. The Vikings offense just looked beautiful. Like everything about it, like the script coming out of the game was good. The adjustments were good. And he used motion so much. And I think it benefited Justin Jefferson so much. Because last year under Zimmer, you didn't see Jefferson in motion a whole lot. So he was a phenomenal receiver, kind of playing from a standstill. This year, you're moving Jefferson pre-snap, and the defenses are all confused. And look what happened one game in. So if you're Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, you absolutely love your new head coach. And I think he's legit. Like I didn't think the Vikings. Again, I don't like to overreact to week one games. This is the week one game I'm going to overreact to. I think the Minnesota Vikings are a legit football team. That's my big overreaction for week one. I thought the offense was phenomenal. And I think Aaron Rodgers not targeting Watson until the fourth quarter, I think that was purely intentional. Like, hey, you don't draw my touchdown passes on Aaron Rodgers.
No, I know. It definitely was. But Jackson,
I think Aaron Rodgers is honestly okay with that loss, knowing he didn't target Watson at all the entire second, third, fourth quarter, knowing that Watson's kind of got to be his wide receiver one. I think the Packers bounce back from this, and I think Watson will bounce back and have a good year. But I think that's what Rodgers was thinking there.
No, and I agree with the Vikings thing because they honestly looked really good. I think him, O'Connell, and McDaniels in Miami had the two best debuts because the teams both won. They both looked good, and the offense looked pretty good for both teams. Chiefs Cardinals. Congrats to Jack.
What
all this to
the hell was that?
Carter, I'll tell you exactly what that was. Oh no, that was the most predictable.
No,
Carter, that was the most predictable Week 1 NFL game by a mile.
Don't worry, Jim.
Okay, first of all,
in his career without Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes has better passing
I'm
numbers
not
in every
talking
single passing
about the
category.
Chiefs.
And then hold on.
No.
I told you to a T that this is what the Cardinals offense was going to look like. Kyler Murray's not a special quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury is a pathetic head coach, and they're very easy to figure out. And Kyler Murray without DeAndre Hopkins is not a good quarterback, and that's exactly what you saw on display Sunday afternoon.
What the hell are they going to do when COD comes out? When the double XP weekends are here? How the hell are you, Kyler Murray, sitting at your house all offseason, getting slandered by everyone in the media, and that's how you come out and perform? Are we serious? He looks like a pee-wee football team. The Chiefs' defense is not that good. They're solid, but they're not that good. That was awful. That was pathetic.
It was predictable.
That game pissed me off more than any other game I watched.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs are scoring at will.
You know they were dominant.
Yeah,
and I think
specifically Kyler Murray
improved too. I think too because people thought offense was not going to be as good. But they still have Andy Reid, they still have Patty Mahomes, and they still have Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of the receivers pop off for the Kansas City?
Juju played well.
We had necessarily
but nothing like crazy.
He had 13 fantasy points. That's all I know.
Oh my God.
That's not bad.
Kelsey had a lot of fantasy points, so
he had 26.
Next game, Raiders Chargers. Raiders had I think it was a game we all kind of predicted that it was going to be. Actually, no, I think Carter predicted a blowout.
I said a 2-score Chargers win, so I was wrong. It was only 1 score.
I think for the most part, like it was going to be close. The Raiders had a chance to win at the end. They just couldn't get it home. I want to say how many. I think Devontae Adams was targeted like half of Carr's throws or something like that. It was crazy the amount of times he targeted Adams.
He looked so good.
Yeah, the Chargers win. Bosa and Khalil Mack looked great next to each other. That defense, if they can be an elite defense because the offense is already going to be really good. They could have a chance of actually making a lot of noise at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah, not much to say. That was pretty much it. You covered that
up. Bucks Cowboys. I think my biggest takeaways from each. Oh, sure, Jackson, just go ahead.
Sorry, this game just made me really happy, and I'll tell you why. No, Jake, I'm sorry, but like this game made me really happy.
I had thoughts, but no, they're gone.
Sorry, this game made me so happy. I'm not a Cowboys hater. I do hate stupid football, which means I don't care. Which means I do hate Jerry Jones and I hate Mike McCarthy because those two idiots don't understand how to run a football organization. I'll tell you why. Number one in offensive points per game last year. So what do? You get rid of your number one receiver for nothing, Amari Cooper, and then you leave CeeDee Lamb with a bunch of nobodies. And with Dak Prescott, you don't put anybody in front of him to protect him. And then you keep the defense identical. That is piss poor, putrid football management and organization. Jerry Jones should be ashamed of himself. And Mike McCarthy, if he allowed any of this, should also be ashamed of himself. And he deserves Dak Prescott to be out for 6 weeks. And Mike McCarthy deserves having Cooper Rush as his quarterback for the next 6 weeks. That is awful management from top to bottom, GM to head coach. Everything about the Dallas Cowboys, what they did in the offseason is awful. They thought you could get rid of your wide receiver one and some of your best O-line pieces and still be a competent football team. And they expected your quarterback to go out there and still throw for 500 yards. Everything about that was piss poor from Jerry Jones to Mike McCarthy. Absolutely pathetic and a huge failure for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. I honestly feel like they were saying on Sunday Night Football a stat that 5 out of their 8 receivers were making their NFL debuts tonight. I didn't realize it was that bad. Like, I kind of felt like it went under the radar a little bit on like how pathetic the Cowboys offseason was. I didn't realize it was that bad. And the 6th receiver was Noah Brown, who played like 39 snaps last year. Like, that's not even a ton either. So they pretty much had 6 dudes that were coming in completely new and completely fresh and young and inexperienced. And even CeeDee Lamb is like 22. Like, he's not even old either. They had no veteran. They have no veteran in the receiving core, and they got rid of most of their offensive line.
2 guys with injuries that will come back. It's Gallup and someone else. There's 2 receivers that are coming back. But no, you're not wrong. They did nothing in the offseason. Carter, you look like you want to say something.
Even the Bucks didn't look good either.
It was just amazing. My uncle said this to me when I was very young, and I didn't understand it at the time. But you either love the Cowboys or you hate the Cowboys. And I hate the Cowboys because of their fan base. They are the New York Yankees of football. They think they're going to be the greatest thing every single year. Oh, it's a week 1. That's why I predicted them to win. Just because I just was bracing myself to hear the boys are back. The boys are back. They're going to the Super Bowl. No. Just no. It was amazing. It was just a classic Tom Brady beatdown. They look better prepared. Every receiver on the Cowboys looked just out of sync with Dak Prescott. I mean, Dak Prescott put some balls on the money, and they just weren't making catches or weren't there.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think the Buccaneers looked that good either. That's the thing.
No, the Buccaneers didn't look great, but they'll figure it out. They have Tom Brady.
The only thing to work is like red zone offense because if the Buccaneers can change some of those field goals into touchdowns, this game is a blowout.
Yeah.
I would say that the Buccaneers O-line, because I think that was the biggest question coming into it, they actually looked pretty good. They were able to run the ball. And if Micah Parsons gets injured on the Cowboys, that team may only win 2 games because he does everything defensively. And they have no. All right, last game, Broncos Seahawks. I think we should start a new award. Every week we name the biggest moron, and I would like to nominate our first winner, Nathaniel Hackett. The Broncos got the ball with how much time left? 3 minutes, right? Going 2-3 minutes, plenty of time
with 3 timeouts.
They make it to around the 40 yard line. I think there's 50 seconds left with 3 timeouts. He then proceeded to let all 40 seconds go down the clock to call a timeout to kick a 64-yard field goal with a kicker who's never made it from that distance. And his last kick from 61 yards came in a dome on high sea level. This was just regular sea level in Seattle where it's normally windy and rainy. Maybe the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. especially when
Yeah.
you're paying your quarterback $250 million. Also, Geno Smith looked good.
Mhm.
Broncos got to finish drives. Broncos finish drives, they win the game.
Yeah, they had fumbling
That's
issues.
my biggest
They had
takeaway.
they had fumbling issues in the red zone with both the running backs, Javante and Owen Gordon. And I think that dynamic duo can be very, very good, but they cannot be fumbling in the red zone. I mean, they were legit on the 1 yard line both times.
Also, my
Like, there's
Broncos
no way to
finished
show
again.
loss that game. Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Are we doing pick 'em?
Next episode.
Okay.
First, just do you guys have your records?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Carter, you go first. What was your record?
I was 8-7-1 this week.
Carter, 8-7-1. Jackson.
This would have been my worst performance last year. I went 6-9-1.
I told you it was a tough week. There was a lot of just weird games. Hunter.
No, I was really wrong.
Yeah. I also went 8-7-1.
All right, gentlemen, we have a tied for first and a tied for last because Jake also went 6-9-1. Look at Texans game. The Texas game, I thought I could steal from all of you, and they blew it. They punt. I'm sorry. Just very last thought. They're at the 50. This Texas team, no one expects them to do anything. They're at the 50. They just need a couple more yards to get in field goal range. It's 4th down, 4th and short, and they punt. Anyone else catch that? They punted on 4th down to win the game with like 10 seconds left in overtime. But anyway, yeah, that's it. All right. We all good? All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you later.